Hi. Would you mind I sit there?
Sure.
Oh, wonderful. Well, hello.
Hello.
What's your name?
My name is Nelly. How are you doing?
My name is James. I'm pretty well.
Good. I'm happy to see you here.
Likewise. Thanks for meeting me on the train.
Yeah, isn't it amazing?
It's beautiful. I love scenery.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what do you do?
I'm a writer, screenwriter,
Oh, that's interesting.
and filmmaker.
Ah, you know why that's interesting? Because it's stuff that I do as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You do the same thing?
Well, you know, I've shot my own film. I wrote the screenplay. I produced it, and then we did it on a low budget. You know, shot it for like 3 years. It's called Dropping Like Flies. It's on Vimeo. You can look at it now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm happy to hear that. Tell me about your experience as a screenwriter and filmmaker.
Well, what would you like to know in terms of what got me into it, or?
Yeah, you know, I'm sure, because we're artists,
Right.
you know, artists usually get inspiration from somewhere, somehow. I want to hear about your story, you know?
Which, how the movie got made, or when I became?
In general, like in your life, how did you get into writing? What inspired you? At what age you thought that you're going to be in this major?
Well, it was at an early age. I was in 5th grade. It was right around Halloween, and we all went down to the library of my elementary school in my small town that I grew up in, Wisconsin. And the librarian gave us an assignment saying, write a spooky Halloween story. And as a 10-year-old boy, a bell went off in my head. You know, there's like this new thing called music videos. Michael Jackson's Thriller was one of the prime things that made me want to be a filmmaker, in addition to my love for movies. But the moment she gave us that assignment, said, I just went to her, I'm like, I'm going to do movies. And I had no idea what a screenwriter was. I didn't know what a director even did, but that was what started it all in terms of there was no career that was going to be good enough for my 10-year-old mind.
That was your first inspiration.
Yeah, that's all I ever wanted to do with my life. You know, everything else was accidental, be it a DJ, band promoter, retail clerk. You know, these were accidents, but yeah, it was a long journey to become a screenwriter.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then did you get any specific training?
I did.
Awesome.
I went to Columbia College in Chicago in the mid-90s, but dropped out my second semester. But then in 2017, I went back to college, got my AA in photography. That led to a transfer to Northridge, Cal State Northridge. And there I became a screenwriting major.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I got my BA. And then just recently, 2 years ago, after graduating from CSUN in Northridge, I transferred to Fullerton to work on my master's in screenwriting. And just 2 months ago, I graduated.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then tell me more about screenwriting major in general. I'm sure there are so many people want to know how filmmakers or writers find ideas to write. And I'm sure everything starts from a good story. So story matters.
Right.
So I want to hear about that part.
Well, the easiest way I can explain that was for my first movie, Dropping Like Flies. I'd written a couple screenplays, but nothing had ever materialized. And when I wrote that, it was right after I quit drinking alcohol. I had a big problem with that for a while, and other things. And so I was one day looking at the beautiful Bay Area ocean, or not the ocean, but the bay, in Albany, California. And I just happened to overhear a couple that were walking around this nice scenic area, get to see the Bay Bridge in the background. And like one of them struck a conversation, was communicating. They were saying, are you happy with the life that you've chosen for yourself? And I'm eavesdropping, I'm just watching nature and stuff like that, and I heard that, and I came out there to write like ideas for a screenplay because I liked that area, because it was like kind of like an artist retreat. You know, they had like a makeshift library that you could borrow a book, take a book type of thing. Homeless people used to camp out in it. So, but it was a just elaborate place of like things that would go on before and after hours, you know. And so that struck a chord. I thought of the phrase "no man is an island jack," and then I thought of the Albany Bulb where we were at as like an island, and that a source of problem that you can't deal with, that you have to get off the island. Like, how do you advance? So that was the strategic way of, and how I came up with these characters for the movie. They were all personalities of myself, in terms of like, you know, the intoxicants that I used to ingest. I was like, okay, stoners are different than alcoholics. Alcoholics are different than heroin addicts, and so on and so forth. How do you get all these different people into one place? Well, I was a DJ in a club. So that was like, you know, the whole premise of how that movie came to be. It took 2 years to write the screenplay. Again, I've been working retail, I was like DJing and writing the script and trying to see who was crazy enough to work in this movie for free, and yet they were all artists as well. Like there was, you know, porn stars, there was musicians, there was DJs, there was burlesque performers, like the whole gamut of creativity was in my movie, and like, and yeah, it finally came to be, took 3 years to shoot, and then probably about a year to edit. But then there was like a 3-year gap, you know, after everything was done, you know, nothing happened, you know,
I
so.
guess that's a problem with low budget.
Right.
Filmmaking,
So
yes.
guerrilla style as well. But tell me about your interest in screenplay. When did you choose that interest?
Well, me too. I mean, I started from early age as a writer too. At age 15, I started writing novels and short stories. I've been always like passionate about literature.
Right.
For me, literature was the first thing that I discovered. And then later on in life, I became a TV freak and a film freak. So I thought, oh, okay, maybe it's something that I can consider. And then I started working with other people, you know, writing short scripts, and then I kind of liked it. And then later on, I decided to go to school and learn how to write and how to make films properly. Yeah, that's about my journey, and I wrote a few short screenplays, shorter stories, 2 novels, and 2 feature screenplays. So far. And we'll see. And what about you?
What about me?
Yeah, how many screenplay did you write?
Ooh, I've got nearly 30 screenplays, collaborative and solo. I've done a couple adaptations of like, you know, other stories. One was like a book that a friend of mine wrote called Banging the Monkey. And then another one was you know, biography movie musical about Lupe Velez, the, you know, Mexican actress that died tragically. But,
Wow,
you know,
that's interesting.
thank you.
So you have a good portfolio.
I
then.
do.
You should, but tell me one thing though. So can you explain me what's the difference between studio writers and independent writers, and which category do you think you belong to?
I definitely belong independent. When I had my exit interview for my grad program at Fullerton, the head of the department that I sat down with, one of my instructors for 2 years, he's like, okay, you're not a mainstream like writer. How do you see yourself fitting into the Hollywood studio system? I'm like, well, I think that's going to be a challenge. I try to write for an intended audience that, like, you know, but I also write for myself. I write what interests me, movies that I don't think I've seen before, and try to go from there and just, yeah, so I don't know that I could fit into a Hollywood studio system. Even if I because I had mentioned to my instructor, I'm like, oh, I love a 3-picture deal with like one of the major studios. He's like, well, okay, but you're not a mainstream writer. How do you think that's going to work for you? And like, because you'll be working under their restrictions, whereas when you're independent, you do your own, thing.
So what's the difference between an independent writer and a studio writer?
Studio are kind of under the impression that you have to work for a company. You have to write with their audience in mind or their ideas of what they want you to do. So you might be doing a lot of rewrites and just to get it to where they want it. Whereas independent, you're at your own censor and
creativity.
Right, you can your imagination is your own limitation, and if you're very imaginative, like I can be, I try to one of my instructors asked me, do I write with a budget in mind? And I'm like, well, yeah, because I'd like to everything I write, I'd like to direct. I don't want to write a screenplay and have somebody else direct it. I mean, unless there was the only way it could get made.
But let me ask you this question though. If you ever get a possibility or opportunity to work for a studio and develop maybe in a story that you like.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say, I don't know, do you like Joker, for example? Joker, the movie?
I've never actually seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it? Okay, what movie do you like the most?
Of recent?
Or one of your favorite, though. One of your favorite studio-produced movies.
Purple Rain.
Purple Rain, okay.
One of my favorite films.
Okay, perfect. Let's say one studio invites you to write Purple Rain 2 for it. Will you collaborate?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Something like a Purple Rain 2? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, even though Prince is dead, and he's a big favorite musician of mine, but at least I got to see him once. But yeah, I would love to be one of the staff writers for Purple Rain 2.
Even though you wouldn't have that much creativity or room to expand your imagination.
If they were paying, that would be the incentive for me to want to do it. It'd be like, okay, Warner Brothers is producing it, just like the first one. I have to work within their constraints, and I'm flexible as far as I can be flexible. I mean, I wouldn't be the only writer. They do have multiple writers in studios, whereas and then they eventually get rewritten, and the director has a hand in it.
Exactly.
The producer will put their 2 cents in as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say from now in 5 years, as a screenwriter, where do you see yourself?
Where do I see? I'd like to say that I've made at least 2 movies that have done moderately well, either independently or on somehow got a mainstream audience. Paws crossed. But yeah, that's where I'd like to see myself 5 years, just having a substantial career as a screenwriter, getting hired to do rewrites or be a staff writer in some instances, or work strictly independent, because I don't know that I'm studio material.
Yeah, I understand. And then, something as a writer that I face sometimes, let's talk about challenge.
Yeah.
One challenge that I face sometimes, not the lack of creativity or storytelling, sometimes is a block, which is so-called writer's block, or laziness, procrastination. Like you have an idea in mind, you want to sit there and write, but you have the whole plot in your mind, but you don't know where to go with that or how to start the first scene, Let's talk about that. So as a writer, have you ever faced that problem?
There's been moments. I don't like to say that I get blocked. I have those snags, I call them. And a project that I'm trying to do right now, The Last Time Warp, my ode to Rocky Horror, which your shirt kind of reminds me of. And the lips, and a bit of the teeth. You got to check it out. But it's my ode to Rocky Horror. there was a point where I was writing the script, and we're getting toward the, it was like a lighthearted comedy, sci-fi movie, more kind of a mainstream appeal towards anything, right? There was a point where I like, how am I going to end this? I was like kind of not panicking about it. I was like, I didn't know where it would go, and then it came to me like within a short time, like the moment, like, so I don't generally get, too panicked about like when I get snagged on things. There's been moments where like I was supposed to start like right before the semester would start, I'd be like, okay, I gotta come up with a new story to pitch. And like I'm blank, and then something would like trigger me in a good way, and then I would be like, hey, let me go with that. And I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but there were instances where, I don't know what I'm going to write, and then boom, something came to mind.
Awesome. So what about procrastination or laziness?
I don't,
Maybe it's not your case.
No, I'm not so much lazy. I'm very like motivated. Like I did this one project with a collaborator, and I was trying to impress her, right? So I was like on my own time, and we met in film school. I was like devoting 8 hours a day, and my rule was 5 pages a day in 8 hours. Like if you can do 10, wonderful, but that's my standard for getting things done. It's that commitment, that like, and there's moments where I'm like, I'm beat, or I'm just not thinking anything, or I'll put on music, I'll put on like a movie to get inspired, something creative that will get the juices flowing. Awesome. So I'm not much of a procrastinator in that sense. I try to like, not be lazy. There's moments where I'm kind of dragging, but then there's also moments where I'm like hyperactive and like I can't get this done fast enough.
Okay.
So how do you deal with that stuff?
For me, the same.
Yeah?
The same. Like it happens sometimes that in terms of block, never happened that I have a block. My mind constantly creates a story. Like I always have a notebook that I write my line outlines or log line or a plot or whatever that I want to write about later. And not blocking, but sometimes it happens that I sit in front of a computer, open Final Draft, which probably our audience know about it. Final Draft is a software that screenwriters use for writing, and then so I see this blank page in front of me, even though I have the story in my mind, and I say, okay, how do I want to start the first scene? And the first scene usually is the essential. This is how you introduce the world of your character, right? And then and my character. So how can I do it more interesting? And I think that's the most challenge for me. But once I start, then
what's a good character that you've come up with for one of your screenplays, collaborative or solo?
Collaborative. I wrote about one of the epic in a poem epic from Ferdowsi, a Persian poet. Which was pretty much established story, and we had just to create a screenplay about it. It was hard, it was really challenging since the story was only 1 page and we had to develop 120 pages of a screenplay. It wasn't an easy thing.
No.
But yeah, so that was the most challenging thing that I have done. It was hard to develop the character.
I didn't ask you, where are you from?
Oh,
you asked me where I was from, but...
That's right. So I'm from Iran. I'm Persian.
Wow. I haven't met many Persian women in my life, or Persian people, but...
Well, nice to meet
nice
you
to
again.
meet you again. How was that, your journey from Iran to where we're at now?
To America?
Yeah.
Well, longest story. Longest story. But I don't want to go in detail, but definitely passion for art and cinema.
Yeah.
it took me here.
Oh yeah.
That's for sure. I knew if I go to America, that's something that I want to study. And since the first day, I remember when I walked in Los Angeles the first time, the first film studio that I saw was Warner Bros. On Highway 134. And I look at it and I said, wow, that's a big dream. Would it be possible for a Persian woman to be there one day, maybe?
It's not
Yes or
impossible.
no? Yeah, exactly. It's not possible. You know, as an immigrant, sometimes you get there, you don't see yourself.
Even
But
as an
then-
American, you don't see yourself sometimes.
It happens.
Right.
But then, you know, I'm glad it worked out. I decided, I think, right path.
Yeah.
Like going to school, learn about cinema and techniques of filmmaking and writing especially. I want to always strengthen my writing
Me too.
skills. And even though I was a writer myself, but there is a difference between being a writer, like a natural writer, and learn how to write.
Yeah.
You know, the combination of both can help you become a better writer.
Exactly.
And then I'm glad because that was really helped me. I mean, I had good connection. I found good connections. I met best people that I could in my life. I found my collaborative writer,
Oh.
lifetime collaborative writer
That's
that
impressive.
I always
If you can get a
desired
good,
for.
if you can get a good partner, and you can call them a lifetime partner, collaborative partner, hold on to them.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Like,
definitely.
you know, because
Definitely.
none of us are getting any younger, and so we have so limited time on this planet to begin with.
Yes.
So
It is important. It is
When-
important if you can have a good collaborative writer because you need to understand the mentality and you need to kind of match
Right.
the mentality and the way you write, you know, the style of writing,
Yeah.
it should be the same. Mentality should be the same. And it's hard sometimes to
Right.
find a collaborative.
oh, I
where-
know. I've had a
So
few
you
of
went
them, and some I still work
You
with.
tell
you know,
me
like,
about
yeah.
it. Yeah, you tell me about it. Do you have any collaborative writers?
I have a couple.
Uh-huh.
I wrote a screenplay with a woman who was a Harley writer, and she was performed at Burning Man, so she knew costuming. And we wrote about 6 women who are shapeshifters that turn into animals, called Sister of the Moon. That was actually my first published work as a screenwriter. The TV pilot got published through a contest that I won through Film Freeway. Another partner there in Oakland, they're African American, transgender person, and we wrote a vampire story set in Los Angeles. And then I have another collaborator, and we've done some really great stuff. But yeah, like we did this international movie. We've got like this other, like a story, a mythological story in the making.
Beautiful.
And yeah, so those are my 3 partners I can think of off the top. A friend of mine from a long time ago, that I still keep, she and I wrote a screenplay together about a really difficult situation in Chicago that we lived through, luckily. But you know, so yeah, I work well with others.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have another critical question.
Okay. A critical question.
Oh yeah. I know the world of managers and agents
Yeah.
and how to promote your artwork it could be challenging sometimes.
Yeah.
I want to know how was your experience
With
as a screenwriter? Do you have an agent or manager, or you want to find someone, and if so, how challenging it is?
I've been finding it pretty challenging. Like before graduating from Fullerton, I had been sending off query letters for numerous managers, pitching numerous projects, whether it's my collaborative work, my solo work, stuff that I thought could get somebody's attention. I've had a couple, like one studio send me like the form that you're supposed to fill out for submissions and stuff, and you know, I figure, okay, these are good scripts that I'm okay with, that I can send out, but they never got back to me. So it gets a little disheartening when you don't hear, when you like someone's like, hey, yeah, like send me your script, sign this waiver, and then if we like what we've read, then we'll contact you. But then I've not heard anything in the not quite 3 months since graduating, but I've been sending out at least 200 query letters in the last few months, and I haven't heard anything other than from that one company, and that bothered me because I gave them 2 scripts already.
Oh yeah,
So-
that's that's.
But it was, I signed the waiver saying that, I could do it, and so. But,
Oh wow, that's.
So, yeah, I'm still actively looking for a manager. You got to find the manager first, and then the agent. But if you have a lawyer, and then you can get to the right manager that will get you to the right producer or hookup, if you will.
Yeah, because I think that's a question for many people. Like as a writer, how you can survive with the tough market like this, you know?
Well, you do what you can. Like you go on game shows, you sell kitchen set knives, you work retail like I've done in the past, and I'm just getting through life as best as I can, like day by day, and
Until you can get some recognition for your art.
exactly.
Okay.
Like it's not going to be something I'm going to give up easily.
Oh no, I mean,
You
you studied so hard for
Right.
it, you worked for it. I mean, why would you give up?
Right,
And
it's
then
like-
a creative mind, how you can shut down
I can't,
your
I
creative mind? That's not possible.
Yeah, it would have to take some, like mythological character, some supreme being to come down and say, James, this is not going to work for you. Find something else to do with what is left of your life. And it's like, okay, I'm in my 50s. How much time is left to do something massive,
Okay, what is your suggestion or recommendation for new starter people like me that they want to start a career as a writer, I want to know, I want to learn more about
I wouldn't give
career
up,
as a writer.
like, don't give up on what you're doing. If you feel the urge to write, just keep doing it. If you feel that you're stuck or that like something's not working for you, take a breather, walk around the block, go clear your mind however it's easier for you to do, and come back to it, to get started out, find something that inspires you. Like what would you like to write about? What is the story you feel that the world needs to be told that hasn't heard yet, or even a variation of a story that they're not familiar with?
As a writer, do you believe that you have a responsibility?
I feel a responsibility to myself to do good material. Like I don't want to put out things that aren't so good. Like I can't be responsible for other people.
That's right.
And so I have to be aware of what I'm doing. I don't want to write something that I'm embarrassed about or that would kill my career. So I'm sensitive about that. Like I'm trying to think of what would people want to see from me, what would best represent who I am, and what would surprise them at the same time. And it's not always easy to do to surprise people. Everyone's pretty jaded nowadays with the internet and everything, but
Exactly. This time I have a very personal question for
Okay.
you. I'm sorry if you don't want to answer, you can say you don't want to.
all right.
Have you ever done anything in your life that you've been ashamed of or embarrassed of, or you're sorry about?
I feel I disappointed my grandmother, my last living grandparent. She's going to be 96 this year. She survived Alzheimer's. She supported me. I'm the only grandson and the eldest of my mom's side of the family. And I got a lot of special privileges because of her and how she treated me throughout my life. And then when her health started failing, and then she's recently moved in with my mother, I feel that I need to rectify some of the life decisions I've made. I'd like to show her that I became successful on some moderate level, because this was a woman who really helped me out in really dark times. And I feel that I might have let her down in a way that she was expecting me to do better than I did. And then you know, I changed my life in many ways. I'm a much better person than what I used to be. And like, so I feel I would love to like make amends with her in a way that like, I'm sorry, grandmother, that like, you know, if you thought that I took advantage of you for any reason, or you know, just why you spoiled me so much, you know, but like, you know, that's the one thing that kind of like, you know, kind of lingers in the back of my mind, like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you like do something massive with your life that like your grandmother had helped you out with, like even more than your parents did, you know?
So, that's so sweet.
Yeah, so I love my grandmother dearly. I would love.
Will you call her?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And just
yeah,
let her know.
I want to go visit her before.
That's awesome.
You know, like before things get too, you know. I mean, she's 96 going to be, you know, and so.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I think this is my stop. Yes. Okay.
Oh, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, pleasure
Nilgoon.
to meet you, James Leon.
Correct. Nilgoon
Askari. Yes.
Askari, yes.
I'm gonna go watch your film on what platform is it on?
Vimeo.
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 Okay, Vimeo.
Dropping like flies.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Have a nice trip.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.